Ludicrous Feed is proudly sponsored by My Car, Tyre and Auto, Carloop, data to empower Australia's EV revolution, and Hankook, driving emotion. Hello everyone, I'm Tom, this is Joy.
Hello.
And welcome to today's episode where we are going to talk about what we think are the top 5 electric SUVs in Australia over $50,000. Okay, so we've made a table for you guys today. There's 12 cars in this table and there are 5 brands. So we're going to go through each of them, or at least each of these brands one by one. And I guess we are going to start with XPeng. XPeng, as a full disclaimer, of course, you guys who follow my channel, our channel will know that XPeng have given us a G6 long range for a loan to test and make content with, so it's an indefinite loan, so just a full disclaimer, it's out there, but of course we'll still give you our thoughts, our honest thoughts on the vehicle, both the pros and the cons. All right, so Joy's been driving mostly the XPeng G6. I was going to say,
we're just going to go in order from like least expensive to most expensive in terms of driveway price, so that's the only reason that the XPeng starts off first.
Yeah, that's
it's the cheapest
only reason, and that's probably a big plus. It's still the cheapest drive away in New South Wales, at least.
We should say.
Over $50,000, the XPeng G6 standard range. And yeah, rear-wheel drive powertrain, 0 to 106.6, and can charge quickly, 215 kilowatts DC, if you can find a charger that charges that quick. And of course, with all these pricings, we must also include the servicing charge as well. So the XPeng, $2,000 on top of the drive-away price. So yeah, not a bad vehicle, of course. And it also comes in the long-range vehicle as well. So 63,000 drive away with an additional $2,000 on top of that. I think what XPeng does really well, actually, is the tech. I think it does tech really well. And also the efficiency of the vehicle as well, as you found out recently.
Yeah. Like, I'm getting crazy efficiency. So if you're looking at just sort of like value for money and, you know, getting your dollar to stretch the absolute furthest, then this is probably the one to get. You probably have to maybe drive it in eco mode, but I mean, I don't even drive in eco mode. I drive in sport mode and I'm getting efficiencies of like 13 something, 13.4, 13.7. So I'm very happy.
And we're in the depths of winter, so to speak, in Sydney. So it's as cold as it's going to get here in Sydney and still pretty good efficiency. What I think XPeng does also well is the autonomous features. So I think on the highway, as you've seen in our Melbourne to Sydney vids and Sydney to Melbourne vids, it includes auto lane change as well. It's a very good on the highway in terms of autopilot or X-pilot they call it. It's lane keeping with cruise control. I think it does that very well. The ride can be a bit firm in my opinion, although Joy doesn't mind it too much.
Compared to the Tesla Model Y that I was in before, it's certainly less than that. So for me, it's a more comfortable ride. But if you're going from something even, you know, more floaty and more comfortable than that previously, then yeah, you probably would find it firm.
Yeah. And overall, very plush interior as well. It's pretty good. No sunshade, that's the only thing I must say. What I think XPeng is possibly suffering from now is that the new XPeng G6 is already out in some markets, including China, of course. So the sales could possibly be suffering now because people know that XPeng G6, the new version, is available and potentially coming to Australia soon, so they might be holding off their purchase. But if you want a car that's currently the cheapest, electric SUV over $50,000, very good value, I think XPeng G6 might be the way to go. We may possibly see some price drops, maybe, before the new one comes out. We don't know. But again, that'll be very interesting times.
I mean, I think if it were to drop below $50,000, if it were to go into, because you know, like other cars have been cutting by 7,000. So
True.
You know, if they know that a new one is sort of coming out and they really want to sweeten this one, then I kind of think that they should cut the price just like some of the other ones,
I think so.
the other brands out there, and then this would then jump into a completely different category. It would then be in the category of EVs under $50,000, which is another lovely competitive little segment.
It's due for a price cut for sure with the new variant coming. I think also because there's some uncertainty around the distributorship of the XPeng as well. There's rumors circulating that the HQ is going to take over very soon, much like BYD did for their distributorship. HQ took over from the local distributors. So yeah, some uncertainty around that. So we shall see in the coming months. Good news too is that XPeng G6 can now charge at Tesla Superchargers, V3, V4. Official statement came out from True EV, their distributor here in Australia, so that's great news. Previously, I was a bit hesitant to recommend this car, but now that it can charge at Tesla Superchargers, probably the best, most reliable network in Australia, I think you're good to go.
There's no deal-breaking negative about this car. Like, no. I have like tiny gripes like driving it in terms of, you know, if I'm on a slope and I have to press the brake, it does this weird braking lurch, but that's not a deal breaking issue. That's like such a tiny thing in the grand scheme of things. And, you know, the sound quality is like an A- rather than an A. So it's like neither of them are sort of like deal breaking issues for me. I would be much more annoyed if it was an efficiency of like, you know, 20 or 18 and it was like guzzling up the electricity. That would be far more irritating for me. Yeah.
So that's the XPeng G6. Obviously, there's a bit of a bias because we're given this car to review, so take it or leave it. Let's move on to the next one, BYD Seal Line 7. So we've driven this car from Sydney to Melbourne and back again a few months ago when the weather was warmer. We took the all-wheel drive variant, the performance variant. Just looking down the list there, the performance variant is probably the cheapest all-wheel drive variant in this list amongst the 12 vehicles here. So BYD has that in their favor. And I think that's what BYD is known for. They're the mass market brand. They're going to keep their costs down. They've got a huge dealership network and, you know, distributorship network here in Australia now. They've now taken over by HQ. So, you know, you've got a plumb line straight to HQ in Australia. And they just make, you know, decent cars that arguably, you know, might be nothing too fancy, but the tech is kind of all there. You know, it's very mass market. You're not going to go too wrong with BYD.
It's solid and reliable. And, you know, having been to Auto Shanghai and seeing just how big BYD is over there, they're like a huge, huge company. So even if you're like, well, I haven't heard of BYD prior to, you know, like a couple of years ago, but they're huge in China. They make like, you know, like millions and millions of like cars. So they're not going to disappear overnight. They're like one of the biggest car brands in China. And to be a big car brand in China is like,
it's a huge deal.
It's massive. So you're going to purchase sensibly if you're going to go with BYD because they're not going to like go under or disappear or anything like that. You know, they're here to stay. And they've got the backing of like an enormous company in China behind them. So yeah.
I think they've probably got #1 EV sales in China for a reason. They're a huge network there, huge network here.
Yeah.
I guess the only downside about BYD is that initially there've been few complaints about the servicing behind it, you know, just on various forums and just from a personal point of view. We've seen them not really take care of Atto 3 owners, early Atto 3 owners. They still can't charge at a Tesla Supercharger. We're still sort of waiting for a fix for those early owners. You know, they were the early adopters. So that has been a bit of a sour note for BYD, but hopefully with HQ taking over now, the service will improve. As we've said, the dealership network is massive now. Servicing is huge. My car is one of the biggest third-party servicing networks in Australia as well. So you're not going to go too wrong in Australia buying one of these.
It's a bit like who you choose for your phone company, isn't it? If you go with the company that, you know, sort of looks after the big company, I'm not going to name which phone company I'm talking about, but they can kind of get away with being a little bit rude to customers because they know that they've got everybody. And I think that's kind of the same with BYD. Like they know they're big, they know that they can, you know, they don't have to kind of pander to everybody, but you know what you're getting in for, like when you go with a big brand, I think. I don't know, that's just my personal opinion.
No, that's what's it called? Economies of scale, right? They can afford to, it sounds bad, but...
No, but the thing is they're going to be there. Like they're not, like I think they can do that because they're not going to disappear overnight. Like they are going to still be around.
Yeah.
So they don't have to kind of like freak over every small thing. They don't have to fix every, you know,
yeah, so they'll leave some customers by the wayside because they're so big they can sort of attract more customers,
yeah,
right?
I kind of think so. Yeah, and I honestly don't know whether that's a bad thing. Like,
I mean, for them it's not a bad thing. For a company as big as BYD.
I know, but like if you're that big, you can kind of afford to. Yeah, I don't know. I think you can afford to do that.
Well, it's got like the Telstra effect, right? They're so big.
Well, I didn't want to name Telstra.
Well, I'm going to name them. It's the same kettle of fish,
isn't it?
isn't it?
Yeah, and same with, you know, like same with flights as well. If you go for Qantas, it's the same thing. Telstra, Qantas, BYD, that kind of like big company kind of...
Bit of arrogance there, right? They know they're good. They know they've got volume.
They've got the volume. That's the thing. They've got the volume,
Okay. So I guess be prepared to feel like one of a number because it's such a big company. But you're getting a good deal, right? 58,697. Second cheapest SUV in this segment, over 50,000.
And I think maybe once you add the servicing, it might actually be cheaper in 5 years.
Actually, it is. You're right. Well, no, it's touch and go because it's $700 more expensive than XPeng, but the servicing is $500 cheaper. So XPeng's still there after 5 years,
and
still cheaper.
Depending on how much you drive, the XPeng will definitely be way more efficient. So you'll be saving on that. So yeah,
massive point.
I take that back.
Huge point. We experienced that on our Sydney to Melbourne trip. The efficiency was around 20 to 21 to 22 on the highway. Pretty high for an all-wheel drive vehicle.
So
and
even,
it does cost you in the long
even
run.
assuming that the XPeng is not going to get 13 on freeway, say if it's 15 or 16, it's still way ahead, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So bang for buck, efficiency does matter, I think, in this game. So yeah, but then again, if you want an all-wheel drive vehicle, you're never going to go road tripping, then, and it's LFP for both variants, whereas most of these cars, the long-range vehicle is going to be NMC, so only charged to 80%. Whereas BYD with the BYD Blade battery, it's LFP for both variants, so you get 100% charge for both cars most days. So that's BYD. You know, it's
And the 0 to 100 is pretty much the same.
yeah, it's
6
not bad.
seconds-ish.
Yeah, and then 4.5 for the all-wheel drive. So one of the slower all-wheel drive variants, but again, there are other benefits to buying BYD. So that's BYD done. Let's talk next about IM by M6. Now, as a disclaimer, IM by M6 and Zeekr.
IM by MG.
Sorry, I'm reading IM M6 and MG. They're very close to each other. I need to check my eyesight again.
Yeah, IM6,
I'm sorry.
IM by MG. Yeah.
IM6, IM by MG, or IM presented by MG Motor. There's IM5 and IM6. IM6 is the SUV. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. So just as a disclaimer, IM6 and Zeekr 7X. They're the two cars we haven't really driven that much yet. IM6 were invited to the launch day by MG a couple of weeks ago. So we got to drive
a little bit in the rain.
in control conditions. We got to experience acceleration with someone driving it. So we got a little bit of taste of it, but as you know on the channel, we like real world stuff. So we really need to drive this in Sydney and possibly elsewhere before we get a really good taste of it. Okay, so what can we say about IM6 by MG?
Okay, first thing I'm going to say, it looks like the old generation Tesla. Like it really does. You know that meme where it's like, can I copy your homework but don't make it? Like it looks straight up like it. I don't know. It really does. But on the inside, I think the tech is a lot better than the old generation Tesla. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's just a timing thing. Like, you know, 3-4 years makes a huge difference in this industry. So
as is the interior. Now the interior is done very well. It's fairly plush on the inside, I think. Yeah.
And it's got some cool features like the crab walking and
what's it called? Reverse. No, when it copies the retrace function.
Yes.
Yep. Curbside parking. That's not bad either.
Yes. So even if you park really far away, the car can fix it for you.
But the question is, as a lot of people in the comments have said, are they gimmicks? Will you really use those functions day to day? Like, have you ever gone, I wish I had the crab mode?
Well, I mean, I have seen a lot of people misjudge turns at shopping centre car parks, and they could have used that to, you know, and then avoided like scratching their like rims. So I don't know, like, yeah, I mean, I can see a use for it.
Yeah. If you say have a long driveway, or if someone actually said in the comments, if you attend a lot of parties where people park very close to each other in a driveway, we don't go to those kind of parties, obviously, but if you're the last driver at a party and the long driveway and it's hard to get out, then that retrace mode might be quite helpful, I guess. So there's a use case for these AI features.
Anyone with a long driveway, I think, would appreciate this. And there are plenty of people with like, you know, difficult tight driveways. So yeah,
it's actually it is the longest. It's the longest vehicle of the lot, 4904 millimeters. So a fair way longer than the others like XPeng.
The other thing is it has an insanely small turning circle.
Oh yes,
like that was so impressive.
That was good, wasn't it?
That was really
5 meters or something crazy like that.
It looked like it was just kind of like turning on
like a
itself.
ballerina. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And the base variant is also LFP as well. And I guess another benefit of the IMs is that if you go for the upper variants, they've got a quick charging speed. So 396 kilowatts. Again, if you can find a charger that can do that kind of speed in Australia.
One other cute thing was that they seem to be wanting to create a community around IM. So they want to have like special events and like exclusive things just for IM owners, which I think, you know, I think it's smart because if there's going to be so many different brands on the market, you kind of need something to help you stand out. And it's nice to try and build like a, you know, like that kind of loyalty around a brand, because at the moment there is no loyalty around any of these brands because they're all new.
Well, so, Tesla's got a
they're
self-made loyalty.
But that's even only, what, 10 years old? So that's not, you know, compare that with even like Mazda or, you know, Toyota. If
they can do what Hyundai does, they've got N, like their sporting makes, the N group, they've got like drive days, track days for that group. So if IM can do something similar, that'd be good. They've got a very good special at the moment, $69.90 for the base variant, up to $70,000 for the Platinum Mid, and then $80,000 driveway for the Performance. So pretty good pricing at
That
the
makes
moment.
it the most expensive one on the list.
Yeah, that's right. Well, okay, we'll get to the Performance in a second, but beware though, servicing is quite expensive for the IMs. So it's actually the most expensive of the lot at $2,700 on top of the base price. So you've got to add that, factor that in when you take into account 5-year cost of ownership. Yeah. But yeah, otherwise, interesting.
But it is very luxurious. Like it does
nice.
feel very premium. They're not just slapping a premium tag on it. It does actually feel very nice when you sit in the car.
Possibly on the minimalistic side though. A lot of the things are screen based. In fact, there are 3 screens.
Honestly, the only cars in this list that aren't minimalist, I think, is the BYD.
BYD.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, my screensaver's just come on. Okay, so that's IM. Also, MG. MG's been established in Australia for years now. One of the bigger, older players now in the country. So the dealer network is well established, as there's a servicing. So that's what you're buying into with IM. So I'm curious to see whether IM takes off, whether they will be the Lexus of MG, because Lexus is probably one of the more popular luxury spin-offs of a brand, obviously Toyota. Genesis hasn't done as well as Lexus, so we'll see where IM does, Genesis being the Hyundai's spin-off. So very curious to see. Okay, so the next one's XPeng. We've talked about that. But let's talk about Tesla. So you can't talk about this segment without including Tesla, which is possibly the OG, of course. Been around, as Joy said, since 2014 in Australia, so 11 years now since the first Model S launched in Australia. Tesla. Now, we've said Tesla enough. Tesla, it's borderline legacy now. 11 years in this industry is a long time. They've established a servicing network, showrooms. You know what you get when you buy a Tesla. Sure, it's on the minimalistic side, but the package is good. You can access the Supercharger network, no problem. Integrates with the batteries, Tesla Powerwall 2. The app is great. Software is pretty good. Autopilot's not bad. And the advent of FSD, full self-driving, if it does, well, I should say when it does. If you talk to a Tesla owner, that's what everyone's hanging out for. I guess there are some downsides, obviously, to buying a Tesla. You've had a Model Y for many years now, and a Model 3 before that as well. What are some of the downsides to buying a Tesla at the moment?
I mean, not really that much. Like, you're just buying the most popular one. I don't think there's. I know you don't like necessarily buying the one that everybody else is driving, but I never really minded that. Driving the car that everyone else is driving. You may occasionally go, which one is my car in the car park, because it's like,
especially if it's white.
There's all. I mean, mine was blue, and there was always another blue Model Y. So, like, if that's an issue for you, then yeah, maybe not. But I kind of think that's a good thing as well, because I think then if you want to sell the car, you're going to be able to sell the car easily, because people will want to buy it. Like, it's a popular car, and it's a popular car for a reason. So.
Or your child might try to get into another car.
Yes, that has happened as well.
Okay, so I've thought of something that Tesla is. Tesla's like Apple, right? It's very much protected in that if you just stick with Tesla or stick with Apple, you're good. Like you're in the ecosystem, it's fine. You're in the environment, everything's fine and dandy. Should you try to stray outside that, say if you want Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, that's not going to happen. V2G is very unlikely for this car. It's going to cut into their sales of Powerwall 2. I can't see Tesla offering a vehicle to grid or load service. So that's what you've got to be prepared for.
Yeah, they kind of want you to stay with them for everything, isn't it?
It's not a bad business model from their point of view, but if you want that extracurricular activity around the brand, then
I mean, on the plus side, everything just works. Like you don't rock up to a supercharger going, what do I do? I've got to open my app. What if there's no signal, and then I can't, there's no phone signal, then I can't access the app, and then how do I plug it in? And then, you don't have any of that drama. If you're in a Tesla, you just drive up to the supercharger. You just unplug the thing and stick it in. You don't need to enter any details, nothing. It knows which car you're in. Like, you don't have to do anything at all. So it's like the simplest version. So if you don't like fussing around and just everything easy street, then this is the one for you.
I think so. I think Tesla and BYD probably the least risky of this segment. Tesla, they've been around a long time. BYD is getting that way. So you probably can't go too wrong by Tesla or BYD. And they're the top 2 selling brands currently in Australia for this
and for a
EV
reason.
segment. Yeah. And another huge positive of buying Tesla is, of course, No servicing schedule.
$0.
Zero. Like we're talking zero. You can see it on our table here. So 64, 120 driveway, plus zero over 5 years potentially. You might have to go change a filter or something else might happen, but there's no requirement.
Fixed service schedule.
Yeah, no set schedule for the warranty. Okay, so that's something. That's definitely something, a huge plus. So that's Tesla. Yeah, enough said about Tesla.
There was something else I was going to say, but I can't remember.
Oh,
Well,
we'll
if I
come back
remember,
to
I'll
it.
come back.
Yeah. So Tesla currently Model Y, there's two variants: rear-wheel drive and long range. Okay, so again, long range is NMC, rear-wheel drive is LFP.
Okay, the other thing I know, this wasn't what I was going to say, but I know I mention this every time. If you need gear shifts, then maybe not, or get a second-hand one like with the old generation, because the current generation one you have to do this on the screen.
Screen-based.
Yep. Which is probably not an issue for a lot of people out there. It's just it's a personal issue for me. Like if I'm under pressure, I wouldn't be able to do this. So that's why it's just not for me.
That's fair. At least the indicators are back.
Yes, but it's just something you should be aware of and know. But you do get used to it very quickly. Like we have driven one, and I did get used to it quickly. But that's under normal conditions. I still don't know how I would deal with it under stress.
Just back on the supercharger network. So obviously we mentioned that Tesla. I guess if we'd had this conversation 2 years ago, I would have said, yeah, Tesla is the road trip vehicle. There's so many superchargers that only Tesla can access. But nowadays, a lot of the new superchargers are actually open access. I have to look at or ask Riz what the stats are now, but it has to be close to 50-50, possibly more that are open to non-Teslas now. So it's not a deal breaker anymore because a lot of the vehicles in this list can access Tesla superchargers now, right? So that's
in areas where you would be driving if you're on a road trip. So the ones that are sort of locked might be in like more in the cities and stuff, isn't it? Where you would hopefully have other options.
Yep, correct. You can probably drive from Sydney to Brisbane or Sydney to Melbourne or even Sydney to Adelaide now with open access to Tesla superchargers. So it's not a big deal. Okay, so the final vehicle we should talk about in this list is the Zeekrs. Okay, so this is like fresh. Zeekr 7X was just launched last week, literally like, 4 days ago. We attended that launch, so we haven't driven this car yet, okay, so huge disclaimer. All we can tell you about the car is just what we saw in the static walk around and obviously the price which they announced as well. In fact, we can't even tell you the servicing schedule because they haven't announced that either. So the big headline for Zeekr 7X was that it is cheaper, the MSRP, manufacturer's standard recommended price. Is it? Manufacturer's, what does MSRP stand for? Manufacturer's retail price. Okay, it's like RRP, but MSRP for vehicles. It's cheaper than Model Y. That was the headline.
But
cheaper than Model Y, because Model Y MSRP is 58,900 rear-wheel drive. Zeekr 7X is 57,900. So they undercut it by 1,000. But the reality in New South Wales, as Joy is alluding to, is that it is actually still more expensive after you take into account the driveway price, because Zeekr has a huge dealer delivery charge of $2,700.
They've done that thing, like when you buy plane tickets and then suddenly there's like this tax and then this fee and that fee, and suddenly it's like, what? Or concert tickets or movie tickets, and suddenly whatever price they show at the beginning is nothing compared to the price they show at the end. That's once you've got all the fees added to it. So
on average, if you look at XPeng BYD, it's about $3,000 to $4,000 more for on-road costs, and that's quite bare bones. It's like stamp duty, CTP, road tax or rego. IM6, in fact, has got a driveway special at the moment. So Tesla, yes, it's $6,000 more. They've got also a dealer delivery, or what they call delivery fee, but not as much as Zeekr. So Zeekr's a whopping almost $7,000 more on top of their driveway price. So it's a little bit misleading, I must say. But then you need to be aware of this when you order a vehicle like this. Okay, so 64,379. There's 3 variants for the Zeekr 7X. Long range rear-wheel drive 70, and then Zeekr 7X is 80 for the performance, almost in step with the IM6. So,
but then see, that's the thing. You look at the pricing there, isn't it? The Zeekr, it looks so much cheaper when you just look at the MSRP. It's like 72,900, and the other one's 77,900. But then when you look at the drive-away price, it's only like,
yeah, that's right. And you know,
it's like $100 as opposed $100,000.
1,000, yeah. I mean, Zeekr's probably got a first few years, servicing free special they've probably got for new owners, but over 5 years it's going to add up a bit more than Tesla, definitely than Tesla Model Y. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so why would you buy a Zeekr? Okay, so we haven't driven this car yet, but we've driven the Zeekr 7, Zeekr X. We've driven the Polestar, and they drive pretty well. The Geely cars drive very well. Okay, maybe except for the Geely themselves, the Geely X5, because it's front-wheel drive.
Well, it's a front-wheel drive. It drives well for front-wheel drive.
Yeah, but the Zeekr powertrain, sorry, the Geely powertrain, the Zeekr 7X, the Zeekr X, and the Polestar 4s, I personally like. So I can't imagine why the Zeekr 7X wouldn't drive well as well. So there's a drive day coming up, hopefully, for the Zeekr 7X. Hopefully we can show you what it's like on camera later on. But I think the reason you'd buy a Zeekr 7X is probably the looks. Yeah, it's quite a good looking vehicle. And I think it's the charging. The charging is what probably get people buying this car as well. So they've got this golden brick battery for the rear-wheel drive variant, 450 kilowatts, and the Chilean NMC battery for the other variants is also 450 kilowatts. So it's a bit of a two-edged sword. Yes, it can charge quickly, but the flip side is that there aren't as many chargers in Australia that can support that charging speed. So I think Zeekr need to be quite clear about that when they sell these vehicles to their customers, to say that yes, we can charge quickly, but there just aren't that many fast chargers that can support this speed currently in Australia.
I mean, for me, I think the reason you get a Zeekr is because you know they've priced themselves to compete with Tesla. When you look at just the sort of specs and the stats of the car, they'll be better than what you get for a Tesla, right? But they've got to be more competitive. So they have to charge like a little bit less or on par with the Tesla. So, you know, because like, let's face it, no one really knows the brand Zeekr in this country, right? Like, I mean, unless you follow like EVs, like if you walked up to someone on the street and, you know, showed them like the car's side profile and asked which car is this, what brand is this, they're not going to know what car it is. So like Zeekr have to factor that into their pricing. So you're going to get a good deal. You know, you're going to get way more out of the car than you would because they don't have that brand recognition. So if you kind of like, if you're willing to take that sort of leap, right, and be one of the early adopters, you're going to get a good deal, right? Rather than getting a Tesla where it's like, well, they can afford to be the price that they are because like everybody knows Tesla, right? So yeah, that's just what I feel about the Zeekr.
And there's some nice features in the Zeekr as well. The interior is very nice. There's extra buttons as well. What else? The screen's good. Obviously, dual screen, infotainment screen, instrument cluster screen, head-up display, so it's all there for you. Lots of storage compartments. It's just a nice premium-looking car as well.
Yeah, there's like no part of the car that seems to have been missed. Like,
as far as you can see.
There are other cars where, you know, I look at the way they join together, like where the door is or wherever, and I'm just like, oh. You know, and I couldn't drive that car every day because it would just bug me that like they don't line up properly. But that is absolutely not, like, no matter where you turn your head in the Zeekr, like you're not going to see anything like that at all. It's, you know, it's like Swedish design, isn't it?
I was going to say Scandinavian design. You can see that, the underpinnings of it. Also 22 kilowatt AC for all variants. So if you've got a cheap charging tariff at home, the 22 kilowatts will get you there very quickly if you've got the right charger for it too.
Yeah. So, I mean, like of the ones on the list, like in terms of the infotainment screen as well, because I'm very shallow, it needs to look pretty. XPeng is pretty. IM by MG is pretty. Tesla is okay. Zeekr is pretty. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Tesla's not pretty, but the UX is good. It's a good experience, right?
Yeah.
It'll get you there. BYD, okay, I can say this because I've been a BYD owner. It's clumsy, right? The UI is not great. It's been improved with software updates over the years, but it's probably the weakest of the lot, I would say, between the five of them.
And look, that may not be an issue for you, but if it is an issue for you, like it would drive me bonkers, like to like deal with like ugly, clunky screens every day. So for me, that would be a big deal. But for you, it might not be a big deal, and that's also fine.
I mean, whatever's important for you, that's fine. That's why we've got so much choice now. We've got 12 vehicles amongst 5 brands here that can give you choice in this segment, anywhere from 57,912 driveway for the XPeng G6 all the way to 8990 for the IM6 performance variant. So,
but either way, I think every single vehicle on this list is going to be better than getting a petrol car.
yes,
so
well said.
Like, you know, I know I might seem like I'm a little bit negative against the BYD Seal line set, but I'm like, in the grand scheme of things, absolutely not. Like, it is still like leaps and bounds better than any like petrol car in this kind of price, or even like a cheaper price. Like, if you can stretch that little bit more, if you are looking at something in the like, 40s or 30s, I know like if you're looking at something in the 30s, maybe something that's $50,000 would be like a massive stretch, but you would be getting like a much, much better car for you and, like your loved ones or whoever you might be driving. And you would be saving money because you're not buying charging by electricity, even if it's like kind of relatively guzzling like a Sea Lion 7, is still going to be heaps cheaper than petrol. So please, any of these on the list.
Yeah. And look, we're splitting hairs because that's our job. We're differentiating them for you. Otherwise, you just go, they all look the same. They're not. They are different in their own ways. So that's our job. But as Joy said, much better than any ICE option out there in this price range. So there you go, lots of options there. I'm glad to see this. Even a year ago, we couldn't have had this conversation. The only thing we could have talked about was the Tesla Model Y. That was the only one about a year ago, right? XPeng, BYD Seal line 7, Zeekr IM, they did not exist. XPeng, I think we only went to the launch late last year for the XPeng G6. That was the first of them after Tesla. So yeah, I'm very happy this is happening. And you know what? I'm happy to have this conversation now because I think these are it. Like these are the cars I've been waiting for in the last 12 months. I think they've all arrived now. There's not that many more to go from China. I say that hesitantly. There's probably going to be more, but for the time being, this is the core group I think you can choose from. So you can safely choose between one of them. And we've driven them all, like I said, except for the Zeekr 7X and the IM6 properly on our roads. So stay tuned on the channel. We've got more to come. We've got more test drives for these vehicles, particularly the Zeekr and the IMs. Yeah.
Well, and Tom wanted to do this video on the ones over $50,000, and I'm like, we need to do a video on the ones under $50,000.
So what are we talking about in the under $50,000 price range? So Geely EX5 we talked about earlier.
Leap Motor C10.
Leap Motor C10 had a price drop yesterday or this week, so very compelling now. And the Deepal SO7, which we're driving right now as we speak, sub $50,000 driveway. So it would have made this list prior to that price drop, but now that it's under 50, it's going to be shifted over to our next video. So the 3 cars under 50,000. Okay. Yeah. So final thoughts.
Like, you won't go wrong with anything on this list. I think that's the bottom line. Like, and you just go out there and try them and see which one. I think I say this in every single video, but you got to just drive it and see which one you like driving and which one you enjoy sitting in, because at the end of the day, that's what's important. I think the Zeekr 7X and the IM, they don't have ANCAP ratings yet, but if they do have an ANCAP rating, anything on this list is 5, and they would also have, I think, NCAP ratings. Some of them already have the NCAP, the European one, which is 5.
I think Zeekr did.
I do not doubt that any of these on the list would absolutely just sail through the 5-star ANCAP rating. So the other thing is that these are safe as houses in terms of, like, putting your loved ones in the vehicle.
Correct. Yep. Well said. All right. Yeah, don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching on behalf of Joy and myself. This is Ludicrous Feed. Until the next one, it's happy charging.